So I have two questions for you. So one, everyone may or may not know like when commission meetings are. I know I don't, never have, but I think that those are the things that need to be put on the forefront. How do you make a commission meeting so appetizing that the community starts showing up? Because I didn't even know in my own county, Gaston County, I know maybe 3 or 4 people probably go to a commission meeting whenever they have them. So first question is, how do you you relay that to the community? Like, how do you relay the importance of showing up to a commission meeting? You hear what's going on, you hear the issues, and as a resident, then you get to decide where you want to move forward.
Right.
And then my second question is, if and when given the opportunity, what are the issues that you want to address in your tenure as city commission?
Yeah, so let's start with the first question. Sure. The very first city commission meeting that I went to was when the city had voted to end its utility moratorium. So for people who don't know, Tallahassee actually owns its own utilities. We are one of very few municipalities or cities in the state of Florida or across the country that has that ability to own our own utilities, generate our own power, and distribute that to the community. In most other cities, investor-owned utilities or corporations or companies are the ones who generate power and distribute that. So that when the city ended its own utility moratorium, I was like, why are we ending it? And do we have any structures in place to make sure that we're communicating the expiration of the moratorium and that people know that they can apply for relief funding? So when I went up to the city commission meeting, I had already done some background research. My neighbor, he had lost his power. Not lost his power. My neighbor was behind on his utility bill. And so I was talking to him about how he can apply for relief funding and let him know the moratorium was ending. And then I had a friend who was going through the same situation. So I was like, let me go to city commission and really find out what's going on.
Yeah.
And so when I did that, I was like, how can you end the moratorium without communicating to the public? There was no press release, and there was no communication about what the funding sources were out there. Most people don't know this, but our city actually has a debt relief program for utilities. It's called Project Share. Yep. When I was in college, I got disconnected because I couldn't afford to pay my utility bill. For a week, I was showering at the Leach Center on FSU's campus. I was only just sleeping at my apartment because there was no power there. If I would have known that there was a program that I could have applied to, that would have changed my situation. So the city did not advertise this program. They also didn't advertise another program called Our Florida, which at the time had $900 million in utility and rent relief. So when I went to the city commission, I was also a little bit younger than I am now.
You probably were fed up at that point, too.
I was fed up.
You were fed up.
If you watch the video, I come on so strong and passionate, but I was angry. I was like, how can you say that Black Lives Matter, and when Black lives are at risk, you don't do anything about it? And that's what really got me just frustrated. And we had commissioners that were wearing masks that said, love your neighbor. If you loved your neighbor, you would let them know when relief is available. You would not leave them drowning or behind in a pandemic. Yeah. So what I did in response is, I didn't really answer the question. So let me answer the question first.
Okay, go ahead.
Not me like rolling all over the place. So how do you make a city commission meeting appetizing?
Yes.
City commission meetings are long. They're like 3 to 4 hours. They go through a lot of different topics. I think where you start is by letting the public know what issues are going to be on the agenda. Okay. So if you are someone that cares about the environment, you should be able to subscribe into the city commission meeting agendas and only get an alert when environmental related issues are going to be up on the dais. That's a start, because right now we don't even have that. We don't even have, right now, we just get a message saying, okay, the meeting minutes have been posted about a week before the meeting. Okay. One, that's not enough time.
No.
But 2, these are very dense packets. So instead say, okay, hey, subscribe into economic development, maybe issues related to your neighborhood, issues related to energy or the environment or women's rights. There should be issue-based selection so that when these issues come up on the dais, you are, one, informed that it's happening, but two, have a chance to say something. This past year, we had our utility rates increased twice. There was only one public hearing about it, and I think less than 10 people showed up to say something about it. Everyone should have a chance to voice their concerns. The issue is people do not know that there is an option to voice their concerns.
And that's what I was going to say, too. I feel like they say, well, we put it out, but who did you put it out to? You know?
And where at? What platforms
like
can you find this information?
Because where is it at?
As a millennial, we have so many platforms out there.
Know.
And I know they have the resources to do it with the funding. So what's the marketing looking like?
Yeah, and they know this. Like, they've all had to run a campaign to get into office. They know how you need to communicate and where you need to communicate and the importance of communication.
Yeah.
But they do not, I feel like they care more about communication when they're running for office versus when they're in for office.
Yeah, so my second question was, what are some issues that you want to address, you know?
Yeah.
If given the opportunity.
Yeah, if given the opportunity. Well, that's one of the things. I think that the reason why I'm still in Tallahassee is because I was given the opportunity to work at a remote job. If I did not have a remote job, I would not still be here. I used to work for Leon County, and I was getting paid $12.73 an hour, and there was no opportunity for me to move up in that department.
Yeah.
So I think one of the first things I care about is just giving opportunity to people by, one, having more reliable public transportation. If you are someone who cannot afford a car or cannot afford to Uber around everywhere, there are very limited opportunities for employment here. Public transportation should not be a barrier for you to get opportunity.
Because I was going to ask, I used to take the bus in high school, but I remember when I was taking the bus, it was like 60 cents, and then like $1.25 if you like weren't a student. So are we still in that same?
It's expensive to ride the bus. I mean, I only ride the bus now because it's convenient and free because I still have an FSU ID.
Yeah.
Star Metro, I think they only make about 10% of their budget comes from fares. If it's that low, why don't we just go ahead and
just make it free?
Make it free.
And everybody just gets them like a Metro card and just go about your. Oh, wow.
We have to find a way to make public transportation more convenient and more attractive, especially with climate change on the horizon.
Yeah.
We know that we are increasing greenhouse gas emissions into our environment through cars. So if we can reduce the amount of cars that we have on our roadways, then we can reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and that means we have a more sustainable environment. So I really care about investing our dollars into improving the connection and the modernization of Tallahassee, and that starts with reliable public transportation. That starts with affordable utilities. If people can afford to pay their utility bill,
we have a problem.
Yeah, if people can afford, and if you look at the map that I've made of all the people in Tallahassee that were energy burdened, people who chronically could not afford to pay their utility bill, those same people also live in poverty-stricken areas who have low educational attainment, food insecurity. So there's already like so many problems concentrated in these areas. The city can have a direct impact by taking advantage of our utility system, by taking advantage of funding sources to put solar onto people's homes, to find a way to weatherize people's homes, and finding a way to reduce their cost of living by targeting utilities and transportation.
And those seem like the two big barriers to a lot of folks that are trying to actually make it out here is just transportation and paying the light bill, trying to get the light bill.
Yeah, those are two really big things. And I think the last two are, well, I have like three.
No problem. Go ahead.
So I care about reliable, attractive, convenient public transportation, affordable utilities by investing more into renewable energy, also quality, safe, affordable housing.
Yes.
Like that is a big issue. There's affordable housing here, but it's not safe. It is not quality.
No.
That's an issue. And I think even the lowest hanging fruit is, once again, having a landlord complaint form where you can rate your landlord. Are they taking care of you? If they're not taking care of you, the city commission needs to know that so we can enforce existing regulations.
Yeah.
Everyone in Tallahassee should feel like they have the skills and the tools and the resources they need to grow and mature and reach their potential.
Yeah, agree. Because I was going to say, just being in like certain Facebook groups on Facebook, I remember I kept seeing a post about a certain property management company here in Tallahassee, and they just were saying that they were just having a hard time just getting them to come fix the stuff. And then it's like, well, I paid all of this money and like my house is flooded. You know, I can't even get my power on. Like there's cracks in my driveway. And then I remember seeing a comment say, you need to go and fill out a form about your landlord and let the commission handle it.
Yeah.
And the comment I saw behind that was like, what are they going to do? I've done that already. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Just to chime in there, because we talked before a little bit about this. Rent rates have gone up.
Yes.
How do we address that problem in the community? What are some things you would do to mitigate how these hikes in prices have gone lately in the community? Because it's really causing a problem. It's displacing Black and brown people, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, because $1,400 for a one bedroom is absurd.
That's crazy.
Who's paying that?
It's just crazy. There are a lot of different things that the city commission has control over. When it comes to rent, we are preempted at the state level. However, as they've done in cities down south, is they have introduced rent stabilization ordinances saying that any landlord or property manager cannot raise rent more than 5 to 10%. In order for that to become a reality, it has to go on the ballot box.
Okay.
So we do have power here on the city commission, but we need a majority, 3 out of 5, that are willing to introduce that rent stabilization ordinance and that are willing to rally people to get out and vote for that ballot initiative, and then also to hold our landlords and developers accountable. There are a lot of people here who are struggling because landlords and developers have too much control over the housing market.
Yes.
They own too much land here,
Yes.
which is making it harder for low-income people, but also young professionals, young families to enter the market to buy a house.
Yes.
My husband and I have been in the housing market for a year. We had to get off because we couldn't find anything, or if we submitted offers, we got beat out by cash offers.
By cash offers, yeah.
So there are ways where the city commission can incentivize by taking the SHIP funding that we already receive to make sure residents know, hey, we have a down payment assistance program. And they can do that by just saying, by partnering with our local realtors, saying, hey, if you meet any local residents, especially maybe young families or low-income people, make sure they know about SHIP funding. Make sure they know about down payment assistance programs.
Yes.
Make sure they know that we have resources here to help them be able to compete on this market. Because that's the problem here.
Yeah.
We cannot compete because the people that have been able to gain wealth through generations are the ones that are able to compete, but not us.
How do we convince the folks that have to help the ones that have not? The question, I guess, really too is these sound like really excellent ideas and potential policies to implement. But how do we get those realtors, those group of wealthy investors that are buying up some of these properties and making it more difficult for the regular person? How do you get them to stop doing what they're doing and potentially let us into the market?
Yeah. How do you let people actually into the market? That's a really good question and something I'm still trying to figure out. I think that we have really big developers here. They may not be as willing to negotiate, but we have smaller developers like my landlord, who also is my neighbor. He owns 3 rental units in my neighborhood. He bought a couple of them during the pandemic. So, and fortunately, he hasn't raised rates for us, but he has raised rates for those units up to $2,200. So it starts by having a real relationship between our small, mid-size, and also our large developers and finding out what they want. because some of them, they want to see younger people in
Yeah.
Tallahassee. They want to see more cultural amenities here, and they want to see the energy that young people bring here. So if we recognize what they want, we can leverage what they want with what we can provide to them and find some way to negotiate. It's going to be about negotiation and being diplomatic about finding a solution that works for, once again, the private sector and the public sector. The public wants affordable housing. The private wants to make money by providing affordable housing. If we have developers who do not want to provide that benefit, how can we make it easier by changing our zoning laws for small and mid-sized developers to split lots, to build houses, and to provide that public benefit?
Yeah.
So we got to find a way to negotiate. And if, high-scale developers don't want to negotiate, we got to open up the market by finding a way to change our existing rules so we can have new players on here that are willing to negotiate and provide that public benefit.
That's a good answer, Shelby. I like that.
And this is why I voted for it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, because when you actually listen to someone, like she said, I'm still trying to figure it out, but, but these are my thoughts as of right now. But
that's honesty, that's transparency.
Yeah. Because I don't expect for you to have it all
that's
figured
not
out.
there presently, and that's what's needed in our communities.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, from the people that I've met on the campaign trail, and I've met really wealthy developers, I've met just everyday working class people, I've met the middle class people as well, and the theme that I'm hearing is we just want to live in a Tallahassee that is safe, that is affordable, that is sustainable. And I know that we can do that, but that requires everyone working together. That requires collaborating. That requires identifying resources that already exist in our ecosystem and distributing those resources to the people that need it. But it also requires measuring progress. Okay, a policy that we implemented, who is it actually benefiting?
Right.
And is it are we actually targeting those benefits in the right neighborhoods?
Yeah.
Do neighborhoods feel like they have a say in the direction of their city and how it's growing?
Yes.